This is Brian Miller. We'd like to welcome you to another edition of Next Generation Network Ministries. Pleasure to have Brother Jeron Presley with us. He's come to be with us today. We've done our final night of camp meeting, Pre-Pentecostal Church of God camp meeting. Brother Jeron's a great friend of mine. Thank you for being here today with us, Brother Jeron.
Glad to come.
And such an honor to have you here. So, tell us a little bit about you. I mean, we've introduced you by name, but tell us a little bit about Jeron Presley, where you were born, what you're doing currently in ministry.
Well, I was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Lived in that great state all my life. Raised in Sand Springs, probably about 15 minutes west of Tulsa. Just growing up there all my life. Went to Landmark Tabernacle in Prattville, Oklahoma, and that's pretty much where I was raised. I currently, right now, I am working at Ozark Bible Institute and instructing there, trying to teach a little bit.
Awesome. And we'll dig into that more as we get into the interview. I'm sure you've seen a lot of great changes in young lives, and that's a great ministry that you have.
Yep.
I appreciate you selling out. Let's go all the way back into your early life, right? Was you born and raised in a Christian home? Have you always been in a Christian atmosphere, or was there any spiritual adversity in the home?
I was born in a Christian home and raised in one my entire life. That's something I could say is a pretty powerful thing for me. I never knew what it was to, be out really in the world, so to speak,
right.
Very much. But yeah, I really was all my life. No adversity come. I had great godly parents, families of workers in the church, things like that. But yeah.
And I've been in that same position, been raised in church my whole life, and it's hard to pinpoint the exact day that we were saved, and it's sometimes I can remember who, but maybe not when or age. But can you kind of take us back to kind of pinpoint as close as you can the salvation experience, what it was like for you?
Really, I can't pinpoint it either. I can remember being in church pretty much all the time, I know, and just being raised, in church feeling, just basically knowing, that I was saved. There was a time in my life where I did get away from church and the things of the Lord, and kind of started to do my own thing, and I found a new commitment, so to speak, basically rededicated my life to the Lord when I was 18 years old, about right at the time before I went to Bible school, right there. So that's really, if I was to pinpoint a time and say, that's when I knew I was saved beyond a shadow of a doubt, it would be then, when I was 18.
That's awesome. Now, and we all do in life have people that has been influential, instrumental in our life, and I know you've had a lot of great men that have directed you to this point. Maybe take us to one or two people, or you don't have to narrow it down, but just tell us some of your influences outside of the ministry, and then since you've been called to preach, and we'll get into that call, but tell us some of the influences you've had in life.
Probably number one would be my father. I've heard it said a lot, but a lot of guys will say they could be half the man their father was, and they do all right. And that's the truth of the matter.
Right.
And he has been my biggest supporter through anything in my life, and that's a very valuable thing for me. And I could go on and go on about how much I appreciate him, but he has taught me not only to be a good man, but he's taught me now how to be a good husband. And besides him, I would probably say my first pastor, Gary Norris, growing up there, very influential in my life, steered me through my teenage years really in church, and I really credit a lot of where I am today to him.
Great man, really. I remember hearing him preach a few times growing up, and just powerful preacher. So you get along, you've rededicated your life to the Lord. You're focused on Bible college, furthering your education, getting along with God. And then there's that point in our life that we know God's got a higher calling for us, and God's chose us to help other people. What was it like for Brother Jeron to struggle with that call? I'm sure you did, and then accept it. What was that like?
Well, that goes back to Brother Gary at the very beginning. He was one that he was the type of man that when I was in high school was trying to fraud and direct me towards Bible school. It was not my plans, not my agenda at all to do that. And he would ask me, he would sit down, he'd take me out to lunch during the school year, something like that, and he would sit down and he'd say, "What are you going to do after high school?" And I can remember going to the decision days that they had at Ozark Bible Institute and being there, and God brought that question up in my mind, what are you going to do after high school? And that's really when I surrendered to that. And then it was just that same year when I was there at Bible school at the Lord's voice, almost that same way, that same not a booming voice out of heaven, just what are you going to do with your life from here, basically, and felt the need to preach and the overwhelming desire after that to preach, and really since then it's gone that way, and so I've preached ever since. Absolutely,
and you've been a big help in my life and in some of the ministries I'm involved in. I run a youth camp, and you've been there, helped us, sent kids. In our camp meetings have driven buses for the Bible college. So talk to us a little bit about, you get through Bible school, and then the decision, the commitment to stay and help steer young lives, and maybe some of the things that you've seen from that.
One of the things that when I directly got out of Bible school, I went home and I was going to get a job. And I told the Lord, I knew He had called me to preach, and I told Him, if you really want me to preach and if this is going to be my life, then I don't want a job or a career that's going to dictate what you want me to do, over preaching. And so I got a job that was very flexible, and it wasn't about a month that the Bible school had called me back and asked me to come back and do that, and I felt that was a reward from the Lord, because I had told Him, I was going to do it that way and keep myself available. And when I got there, really the choice to come back and the way that I felt it play out, there's no other really ministry that is as unique as a Bible school setting. You don't really get the opportunity to talk to 30, 40, 50, new young people every fall. It's very unique, and so that was something that really was appealing to me. And then beyond that, the Lord really began to lay the burden to do it, and so I really followed that, and we're just trying is the word for me.
So, and there'll be a lot of students that watch this, I'll guarantee, that you have had an impact on, came in contact with. Maybe because we can be serious on here, humorous on here. I know there has to be that unique, maybe funny or trying bus experience. I mean, you drive the bus, correct? The OBI choir, who a lot of our churches have.
Yeah.
And I would say you've got to have, I'd say your faith's been tested in time too, that'd be fair to say?
My faith has been tested. Yeah.
So, is there any stories that stand out, comical or otherwise?
Oh, man.
And feel free to call names on it.
Well, I won't involve any people. I'll leave the people out.
Okay.
Really recently, maybe the most thing that has tried me was I had an airbag go out in the back of the bus, and we had just pulled into our destination. It was on a Sunday. I couldn't get any parts. There was a hole in the airbag which stands my air compressor up, airs up the bus. Basically, what it boils down to is the bus isn't going to air up, the brakes aren't going to work. And so we had a hole in it. They're in church trying to figure out something to do, and I'm trying to figure out how in the world to fix it. And so I took a piece of juicy fruit gum, plugged the hole with it, and duct taped it, and we rode home, and nobody knew that their faith was resting in a piece of sugar-free juicy fruit and duct tape.
But duct tape fixes everything, right?
It does. It should.
Apparently. So those of you that have had OBI choir come sing?
Yeah.
You're a piece of duct tape away from
I'm sure
cancellation.
the parents appreciate that too.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Oh my. So we have all been through times of testing, and I know you're a younger man, but we've been through times of testing where our faith has wavered. We heard a sermon tonight where, and I don't think I'd ever heard this phrase before, but our faith has scars, right? And I'm sure it's that way in your life. Tell about some trials, some tests, some rough patches. How'd you get through that? You know, what did that look like in your life?
You know, one of the, I would say, the biggest and major test that I've had in my life, and it may seem minuscule to some, it may seem, you know, not very large, but it was big in my mind at the time. When I had been called to preach at Bible school, there was an immediate, almost, oppression from the enemy about what I had chosen to do, about what the Lord had wanted me to do. And the biggest trial probably of my faith came when it felt like when the enemy was telling me that I couldn't do what I was going to do because I wasn't the right person. My family is not ministry. My family knows, you know, they're in church, they're good people, and but because my dad's not a preacher, because my mom's not a preacher's wife, that I couldn't do what the Lord wanted me to do, and I'll tell you, that drug me down.
Right.
That drug me down, and really was just a weight on me for close to, I would say, close to 10 months of that first, right after I had been called. And it really felt like if I'm not the right person, I don't come from the right family, I'm not going to be able to do this, Lord. And that was a huge trial. It was a huge test of my faith. But really, it was just when I got into a meeting where the Holy Ghost was moving that He really began to bear down on me and tell me that it really wasn't about that. It was just about doing your best.
Yeah.
So I've done it ever since.
And the Lord always edifies it.
Yeah.
And I know you've done a great work. Tell us a little bit about your family. Recently, well, I should say recently, but for a little bit now, married?
I am married. Coming up in July will be 2 years. So I married, in my opinion, the best girl out there, and she has been a huge help to me beyond what I ever first anticipated, really, in marriage. You know, a lot of times you have ideas when you're going into marriage about what you'd like to see and what you feel like you would need as a preacher or as a minister. But I think those expectations were really shattered. And she has been, she's just been tremendous. Probably one of my biggest supporters. So but they're doing good. She's doing fine, really.
So we'll ask you a couple of questions maybe about college life, OBI life. And my son is heading out there this year, Lord willing.
Awesome.
You know, Lord willing, you'll have him, and probably no fear that he'll be in the choir. But you never know. I mean, he could sing like his mother.
I carried the sound for 4 years.
I mean, you know, Dad can't sing at all. But tell me what it's like to work under Danny Taylor. I mean, great man. We all know him, and we will have him on this show. But what's it like to work under a great man of God like that?
It has been probably the greatest blessing in my life to work under Brother Taylor, and there is nothing I can do as a Bible school student or a preacher now really to repay Brother Taylor. And you know, if you was to look up just consistent in the definition of that in a dictionary, it would be Brother Taylor. He's just solid, and I appreciate him. And working under him, you know, the first thing that really comes to my mind is there is no hiccups. I mean, he's level-headed, he's down to earth, and just a man that walks with the Lord. There's really nothing else that really can describe it. But working with him thus far, I really don't know. It's been an amazing experience. Something that I wouldn't trade for anything.
That's awesome. And I bet you've learned a lot of valuable lessons.
Many. Some hard, but some, but all very rewarding.
Yeah. What about some? We went through some of your trials. What about some victories in your life? Some things that you have personally seen or God's brought you through that you know nobody else could tell you it was not the hand of God that has helped you.
Wow. Well, I may relate it all back to my initial call in Bible school, but that's really what's on my mind.
Okay.
When I first felt the call to go to Bible school, I knew that if I was going to go, then I was going to have a job to go, and I was going to have to provide my way. And I had a job lined out. As soon as I felt that call, I went back home. I had a job lined out for that summer that I could make money and I was going to be able to go. And when I got there and I told the man what I was going to be doing, he wasn't saved or anything, but I was excited. So he called me and I told him, I said, hey, I'm going to Bible school. And I said, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to work. And I'll never forget, he kind of lowered his head and he said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to use you like I thought we were going to be able to use it. So I could maybe give you a day, maybe 2 a week, and that's it. And, my faith sunk. I mean, it really felt like I had missed the Lord. And I can remember walking out of there, walking to my truck, and got inside, and was just I was frustrated at myself, because I felt like I had missed it and stuff, and I can remember I was bawling my eyes out there in the truck, and my phone rang right beside me, and it was my dad. I really didn't want to answer it, and when I did, I answered it, and he said, I hope you haven't taken that job, because I've got a job lined up for you if you want it, and it was more money, than I needed, more hours than I could handle.
Right.
So really, that was something that was undeniably God to me.
That's awesome.
A victory for my life.
That's awesome. So we call our show Next Generation Network. And one of the main reasons that I wanted to have you on here, because, you're a great man, but you're working with young people. You see the struggles they have. Talk to this next generation, because you're going to be heavily involved in it, right? And for the next several years. But even after you're gone, what is the one thing that you could speak to the hearts of these young people in this next generation? If you have a word from the Lord or something that you can leave this next generation.
Wow. I wish I had time to really sit down and think about it, check it through. But just when you were saying that, this came to my mind in Romans, verse 6, verse 22, chapter 6, verse 22. But now being made free from sin and become servants to God, ye have your fruit unto holiness and everlasting life. If I was to talk to this generation that's coming up, really, that verse right there, that word fruit, ye have your fruit unto holiness. Fruit means a result of, and then as a result of salvation is holiness, should be holiness.
Yes, sir.
But also that word fruit, you can translate that through a dictionary just to mean a reward. And so you could really translate it, rewrite that verse, say, but now being made free from sin and become servants to God, ye have your reward unto holiness. If I was to say anything to this generation coming up, I would tell them that holiness is a privilege.
Yes.
It is not a burden. It's nothing that we have to bear. It is a reward to me. There is no higher honor that I have than to live a conservative lifestyle, a holiness lifestyle.
Yes, sir.
And if I was to tell this young generation, treat holiness that way. I've seen a lot of young people treat holiness like it's something that they have to do because it's pushed on them. But if they can see really the true beauty of it, they'll understand it's a reward.
Yes, sir.
It really is. So that's really what I tell them.
That's wonderful and powerful, very powerful. Take a second, because there will be a lot of people that's watching this show. Take a second and tell us about OBI. If anyone's out there watching and they're feeling the call to Bible school, take a second and tell us about the school before we close this show.
Really, I would say there's an app that you can get on Amazon, Google Play. You can get it on iTunes now, the OBI app. Get on there, read about the Bible school, see what's going on there. Really, when I talk to young people about OBI, I tell them it starts in a prayer closet.
Yes.
You know, a lot of times we expect doors to open to us in our life to be laid out, but that's not the case. You have to be in communication with God. And if you're going to know what God wants for your life, you're going to have to be in a relationship where you're communicating with Him. And I think that's the most important thing that a young person needs to realize when they're contemplating their future is praying about it. You know, some just make the decision to come, and it really feels like when they got there, we're wondering, why are you here? But those that are there, that are doing well, you know they've prayed. And so if you're a young person, you're in high school, you're wondering what to do and where to go, just pray about it.
Yes.
Pray.
Thank you for being here today, Next Generation. We love you, and this will be the first of many visits. We do want to say thank you for tuning in today to Next Generation Network. Take some time, hit that subscribe button at the bottom of the page there, and follow us, and you'll be able to be updated on many more great videos to come. Thank you, and God bless.